G'day, my name's SR Coder. I'm going to run you through a simple tutorial on MLAPI, and if you don't already know, MLAPI is a multiplayer game engine that Unity has suddenly decided is the best choice for doing game object-based multiplayer in Unity. It's kind of depressing. I'll put a link in the description, but I've done two tutorials already, one using Mirror and one using Pun, which would have been either one of those would have been my choice. However, Unity has decided that they're going to do MLAPI, and I'm just going to run you through a quick tutorial and show you how to get set up and organized with running an MLAPI in a similar way that I did in my other two for Mirror and for Pun. So got a couple of things to set up. So I've just made an empty game, an empty project. I've called this MLAPI tutorial, and it's just a simple scene, and all I have on it is a single cube with a ground. In this tutorial we're just going to simply install MLAPI and hopefully just get it running and show you some of the shortcuts that you can take to make your life easier when you're developing. So first up, let's get MLAPI in. So you'll find if you go and do a quick search for MLAPI, the MLAPI.network link, this is where you'll find a lot of the information about MLAPI. The community wiki is actually a cool place to start. You can look through all of this stuff, and it can give you a little basic setup for how to run through things, but some of it's not very self-explanatory. If you go to the MLAPI installation page, you'll see that there's a Unity package you can download. It says click here. It takes you to GitHub, and all this stuff is hosted on GitHub under the Unity technologies now. The MLAPI installer Unity package is probably the best thing to go for right now. This will give you the opportunity to, I'll just download it again. This will give you the opportunity to install different versions of it, and it manages it a little bit. So I have the MLAPI Unity package. I'm just going to drop it straight into my assets. Once you've imported this, you'll find that you're not actually done with the installation process, and I'll just quickly run you through what you do from there. So you have this editor window, but you don't need to go into here. You'll find here, if you just run through all of these different things, you'll have where is it now? MLAPI under Window. If you click on MLAPI, take me a bit to find it. MLAPI, it gives you all the installers and all the different transports. Now by default there's it uses the UNet transport right now, so you can just leave it and you don't need to install a transport. If you get more advanced, you can look into different versions, and this just keeps it up to date. So I'm just going to click on this top one, the top most recent installation, and we'll click install, and that will install MLAPI for me. Once this is done, you can start adding network components to your different objects. The next stage that we're going to take while this happens is we're just going to create a project clone. There's some great tutorials by Stu Heckenberg, who does use Project Cloner for his MLAPI tutorial, and I've just borrowed the idea from him, but it's not that difficult to install. So effectively, when you're working in multiplayer, you need to, previously in my other tutorials, you would need to have built out the project in order to test the multiplayer capabilities of it. But in other ways, an easier way would be if you could have a clone of the same project working. So we're quickly going to do that as well. So if we go back to the interweb, and if you type in UnityProjectCloner, so if I just do UnityProjectCloner, you'll see, and maybe even on GitHub, you'll see that this HWAET Unity Project Cloner tool, I have it open here. It's just a Unity a package that you can install with Unity, and I'll quickly run through installation of that. So this is the easiest way in the Unity. I'm using currently Unity 2019.4.16. It's the most recent recommended one. The 2020 I'm not so keen on right now, but we'll quickly just show you how to install it. It should work on pretty much all of these. It does give you information saying that it'll work on 2018 and above. If you click on the code thing, you'll get the actual URL to clone this GitHub repository. So if you just click the copy here, this will copy this to your desktop. That's really important. We're going to copy the actual GitHub repo, not the URL, the GitHub repo text right here ends with a .git, and I've just copied that to my desktop. Now if I go into Unity and I go to the package manager, so click on Window and then Package Manager. These are all of the packages that are in my project right now, and I'm just going to click on the plus up here to add one, and I'm going to add the package from a Git URL, and then I'm just going to paste that URL that I copied straight in here and click Add, and that will hopefully install the package for me, and it'll run through all the bits and pieces that you need to do this. So I'm just gonna, it shouldn't take long, I'm just gonna pause the video and we'll get to it. Oh, it happened so quickly, we can get straight to it. So the if we go back to the game here, so once we have this MLAPI, sorry, the Project Cloner, you'll see now that there's a tools window appears, and Project Cloner is here. So what this does by default, Project Cloner, just you click on create new clone. So I'm just going to click create new clone, and this, I don't know how long this will take, hopefully not too long, but you this will create a project clone of the same name linked to the this project. So when you make changes in one, the other clone project will also copy those changes, and allows you to jump between two projects and have two projects. And if you're lucky enough to have dual monitors, you can have one project in one window and one on the other, and you can hit play in either of them, and you'll be able to synchronize the changes across them. And this is a real time saver for developing for multiplayer. So it's made it Project Cloner. It's by default it gives it the same name as the as your current project. So mine was called MLAPI tutorial. If I open this, you'll see it's called MLAPI tutorial _clone. So if I open this, this will open up a new instance of Unity 3D, and I will have these two projects open, two different editors open, and they will be completely and utterly linked. And I'm going to quickly, when this loads up, we're just going to quickly test that they're linked, and I'll show you how it's linked, and then we can get on to some of the MLAPI stuff. Alright, so we've got ourselves set up with these cloned projects. What I'm going to do is just, as promised, add the MLAPI components. So first up, what we need to do is we need to create ourselves an empty game object. This empty game object is going to be our network manager, so I'm just going to call it network manager. And then we're going to add in the network manager component from MLAPI. So let's make this one big for now. So this network manager, if we click add component, and then from the MLAPI menu, it will just pick this network manager, and this is a really cool piece of code. So this network manager has a bunch of stuff in here. The first thing you'll notice is this exclamation mark. It's saying choose a transport. So we're going to choose how the network manager communicates with other connected clients. So we're just going to use this default UNet transport. There's a bunch of other options that you don't need to dig into if you're just doing simple network games right now. So we've got this network manager, it's already set up. It's clever enough to know that we're going to network this scene. We can actually have scene management as well inside of the network manager, so we can move between different scenes, and this is a singleton, so we can access it anywhere. One of the cool things that you'll notice is that network manager has this start host and start server and start client buttons down here. In theory, you can hit play right now, and you can start a host, which will create a server on this machine, and it will also create a connected client. If you click start host, it complains, it says cannot spawn null object. What that's meaning is that we don't have a player object or any type of object to spawn just yet. So I'm just going to click on this stop host again, and we're just going to unplay that. So what's basically saying is we kind of need a player object. We need a player connection. So the network prefabs is where you would add one. And what we're going to do is just simply add a really simple one. So I'm going to click Create Empty from the Game Object menu, and I'm going to call this Player. I'm going to add, on top of this, I'm going to add a 3D object. So I'm going to add like this capsule on top of it. And for now we'll call this player mesh. In theory we can do this because we can have a model as the visual thing, but the player component has all of the bits and pieces that I need, so we can change this without having to change all of this stuff too. The networked player needs a few components on it too if it's going to work. So we're going to click on Add Component, and then from MLAPI we're going to add the main one. The main important thing that every networked object has to have is a networked object script. This gives it an identification across the network, so we're able to the network is able to spawn it and replicate it and keep it in sync. The next part for this one, we don't in theory we don't necessarily need this for the demonstration, but we will at some point want to add the transforms. So you can see that there's other key components. There's not too many to deal with either, so a simple network transform is what will manage the transforms across the network and keep them in sync, and also the network animator and even a network navmesh agent. So we'll leave this network object because this will be our basic player right now, and we'll add more in the next video, but we want to just check that it's working. So I'm going to save the scene and turn this player into prefab just by simply dragging it down to here. It's a player prefab, it's a simple capsule, and then I'll just remove it from my scene. Now the network manager needs to know about this, so we'll go to the network prefabs, click plus, and we'll see that there's no prefab here, so we can drag this network prefab in here. And I'm going to take this default player prefab for now, just so that we're only allowed one of these, and we'll just make sure that this is the thing that gets spawned in. So if everything's successful, what we should see is things spawn in. So I'm going to test this just as a host. So if I click play right now, and then go to the network manager. So if the network manager is a don't destroy unload, so if you lose it, you can find it just under don't destroy unload, and you can select it over here, and then we just go down to the start host, click start host, and we'll see our player pop up. So that's fairly successful, and for it to know if it works across the network, we can simply just dock this one and see the same thing. If I click over here, this will reload, so we know that the player prefab's in here, and if we look at the scene, we should also see the network prefab has it in place. So pretty difficult to see, but you can see that it has it in place. So in theory we can have a connected game already. So if I hit play on this left hand side one, and we'll play this one, if I scroll down the network manager and start this one as a host, our player pops in. Over here we'll have play again, and this is how you'll test things if you want to make sure that they're working. It's terrible on one monitor. And then down here we'll click on start client, and that should connect to the client, and I can see there's no error messages, and I can see that there is two players on my scene. This one has a network ID of 1, and this one is a clone that's a network ID of 2. So we know that the game so far has been set up, and MLAPI is connected, and it's currently working. So in the next video we're going to make it move around. Hopefully you're enjoying the series so far, and please stick with it, and we'll hopefully get to the point where we have a first-person shooter that we can run around and shoot each other. Thanks for watching. Cheers.